Welcome to the Company of Dads podcast, where we explore the sweet, silly, strange, and sublime aspects of being a lead dad in a world where men, who are the go-to parents, aren't always accepted at work, among their friends, or in the community for what they're doing. I'm your host, Paul Sullivan. Our podcast is just one of the many things we produce each week at the Company of Dads. We have various features, including the Lead Dad of the Week. We have our community, both online and in person. We have a new resource library for all fathers. The one-stop shop for all of this is our newsletter, The Dad. So sign up at thecompanyofdads.com/thedad. That's thecompanyofdads.com/thedad. Today, my guest is Justin Breen, a PR pro from Chicago and lead dad to 2 sons and 1 wife. He's the author of Epic Life: How to Build Collaborative Global Companies While Putting Your Loved Ones First. In addition to being a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, he is what I'd call a marathon-level romantic, having orchestrated something called 52 Dates in 52 Weeks, a weekly date night he did with his wife, Dr. Sarah Breen, and without their kids. Welcome, Justin, to the Company of Dads podcast.
It's great to be here. I'm very excited to talk to you and see how we can collaborate.
First question. I did some time in Chicago at the University of Chicago for graduate school, so I know I got to ask this. Cubs or White Sox?
White Sox.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so my bloodline is half North Shore liberal elite and half pure white trash, and I actually like the pure white trash part of it, the blue-collar aspect. I relate far more to White Sox fans than Cub fans.
Wow. Okay. I remember the one White Sox game I went to is years ago, and I was at Chicago. Guy got a home run. Fireworks were set off. I was like, that's pretty good. You know, it's not like, you get a lot of home runs. It's a lot of fireworks. So
yes.
We're going to talk about you as a dad today. We're going to talk about you as a PR pro. We're going to talk about your book. But you started in journalism and switched to PR, but not just any PR where you wanted to have some impact. You wanted to make things happen off camera. You talked about, just being a guy of action. Why'd you make that switch, and been pretty successful, but how'd it go?
Well, you're either born top entrepreneur on planet or you're not. I think most people would choose this life, but they don't have, the courage or the guts or, I'll just write the check to do it. They live in cost scarcity world and they make excuses. And I just don't, that's illogical to me. So my father was 61 when I was born, World War II hero, shot down multiple times in combat, many times without a parachute, and he got back into a plane. So I'm like, you either can do that or you can't. Just endless grit. So, when I was a journalist, had a job salary cut in half, couldn't find a job, incorporated with zero business background. And for the next 6 weeks, while I was working full time at half salary, reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients. So 1 out of 1,000 said yes, endless rejection. Thank God for the client, and then resigned the next day. And then Robert Feeder, who at the time was top media columnist in Midwest, did a story, started my own firm. So that was February 10th, 2017 to June 5th, 2017. So that's the equivalent of getting shot down in a plane without a parachute, and you just get back into another plane.
This adds whole new depth to your LinkedIn photo, which is you intentionally jumping out of a plane, strapped to some guy's belly. And I love this photo because I studied it first. I looked at it like you have the look on your face that anybody would have on their face being jumping out of a plane. And the guy who is the pro at this is, of course, looking directly at the camera, smiling, as relaxed could be. Mm-hmm. Why, after your dad was shot out of the plane many times, as you said, sometimes without a parachute, did you decide that you wanted to do the same thing?
So, being an entrepreneur is like jumping out of a plane. You don't know if the parachute's going to open. So I wanted to see what that actually felt like. So I did it.
How did it feel?
Like being an entrepreneur. Yeah, it was exhilarating, scary. I don't like heights, but again, you just do it. So I just, there are two reasons So most of my day is talking to the world's top entrepreneurs. So not humans, not consultants, not small business owners, just top visionaries, and then simplifying into patterns. And there's two reasons why people are miserable in life from a work perspective. One is they never find out what they like to do or what they're good at. So 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, they're doing something they don't like to do or not good at. That's not a good idea. And then two, which I really don't understand, they actually find out what they like to do and what they're good at, and they don't do anything about it. Why would you do that? So I just do it. And what separates entrepreneurs from humans, business consultants, all the small business owners, they just do it. They don't make excuses or ask, what do you cost or charge, or nickel and dime their way through life. They just take action. And I just don't understand why you wouldn't do that. And then the people in my network and the visionaries I talk to every single day, they don't understand it either. But entrepreneurs, most damaged people with best coping skills. So the highest IQ, highest EQ, most guts, most hustle, and then they just don't make excuses.
Love it. Now, I read something here I'm probably going to garble this, but I think you said, and correct me if I screw this up, but that you're not great at coming up with ideas, but you're great at shaping stories. So, people can come up with a gajillion ideas, and if they can't act on them, well, it's not really
What's
helpful.
the point?
What's the point? Right. Yeah. So talk to me about that. Not great at ideas, but great at shaping stories, which sounds like perfect credentials to be a PR pro.
Well, it's an interesting thing. I guess thank you for calling me a PR pro. I don't know what PR firms do. I was a journalist for 20 years and created an entire company based on how PR firms annoyed me. So I guess if I'm a PR pro, thanks. I don't even know what a PR firm is. I'm not kidding. So I never know what they do, or it's just they bothered me. So I created a solution to that. But I just look at entrepreneurs as aliens within their own family, community, and verticals. The only people that understand us are top entrepreneurs on planet. And a key distinction, I would say, between most of the entrepreneurs that I talk to and me is that most of them are ADHD diagnosed or undiagnosed, not a disorder, sign of genius, mislabeled by humans. And they're endless idea, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, and then so they're the ones that create everything that help everyone else. And then there are 34 Gallup, Clifton Strength Finders. I'm 32 out of 34 in ideation, so almost dead last. But what most humans would think is a weakness is actually a strength, because if there is a great idea from an ideator who's all over the place, I'm like, whoa, that's a good one. Most of them are bad, but if it's a great one, my top 5 strength finders are activate, maximize, achieve, competition, responsibility. So, wow, great idea. Activate, maximize, achieve, competition, responsibility, result. So it's simplify and then go. Simplify into a 500-word story. Go, and never stop, ever. So I'm very endlessly grateful for the ideators and futurists that create everything that helps everyone else. And they're endlessly grateful for me because I can simplify all their blah, 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 blah into an actionable thing and then never stop doing it.
Yeah, but then you go and marry somebody who's a completely normal person. She's a pediatrician. How does that mix work? What are her strengths on that strength finder, and how do you guys pair them together?
High level journalism brain there. I love it. So again, simplify into patterns. People like me, not always, but usually marry stabilizing humans. So I always ask people like me, so is your partner a school teacher, a lawyer, an engineer, a nurse, a pediatrician, a social worker? And they're like, how did you know that? I go, well, imagine marrying yourself. That wouldn't be a very good idea. It does happen. When that does happen, 2 things happen. One, greatest life imaginable, going all over the world, endless, nonstop. More often than not, total disaster, divorce, because there's no stabilization. Okay, so that's one. And then 2, her top 3 strength finders are harmony, relator, achiever. So 1, I'm almost disgusted with the fact that she's 1 in harmony. I'm 31 out of 34 in harmony. 2, she's a relator. I'm 7th in that, and then we're both 3 achievers. So we both want to achieve. She just does it with harmony. I don't know how she does that, but it's amazing. And then, I'll even double down on that. So, unconscious motivators or Enneagram, I'm an 8-3. So that's a doer, 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 never stop. Most great entrepreneurs that I talk to, they're 8-3s or 3-8s, because there's no overthinking. There's no what do you cost or charge. There's none of that. You just execute. You jump out of a plane or get back into a plane. And then she's a 2-6. So 2 is to be needed and appreciated. 6 is to feel safe and secure. So that's a feeler thinker. And so that would not be the greatest entrepreneur,
but a pretty good pediatrician, I would have to
the
think.
best pediatrician who believes in harmony, relating, and achieving. So that's why it works.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk about the way you get a couple books out there, but I want to talk about, use the subtitle as the starting off point from Epic, like how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. I mean, the company of dads came out of COVID with my belief that people would be working differently, and they are, particularly people in their 20s and 30s, and people in their 40s and 50s are wrestling a bit with it. But there are plenty of top CEOs who are going out there and not taking this collaborative approach, not taking this approach of putting your family first. So unpack the book and unpack, how it applies to where we are in this present moment.
You're a deep thinker. Are your parents Ivy League educated?
No, they're not. They're not college educated at all.
That's interesting. So your brain you have a very high level IQ brain. Did you ever take your IQ?
Never took my IQ. Financial aid kid, and went to prep school on financial aid, went to college on financial aid.
You're over 140. Yeah. So a normal human could never do. Yeah. A normal human could never do what you're doing. Yeah. So you're a high level brain. That was not a compliment, by the way. That's just, there's no way you could be like where you are without that type. And do you have siblings?
Only child.
That's even more interesting. So your parents put something into you.
It was horrible food. It was like Tang and microwave pancakes because they were divorced, and I had to let myself in.
Oh,
I had some good mentors. I had some good mentors as a kid.
Somewhere along the line, yeah, because you couldn't have done. Okay, so my intuition is like so far off the charts, and then I can barely hold a pencil right, like it's not, but I can see things in space. So, and then I turn everything into a pattern. So this is what separates entrepreneurs from humans, business owners, whatever that world is. Only entrepreneurs. Okay. I haven't met one in the last 2 years. I haven't met one that hasn't been less than 3 of these things, but these are the 4 things. Almost everyone I talk to now is in all 4. So the 4 things that separate entrepreneurs from humans are bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, 2, depression, 3, highest level of anxiety that you can imagine, 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So humans,
you're really selling this. You're really selling this idea.
There's nothing to sell. There's nothing to sell. There's nothing to. Well, you're high into it. High IQ. I mean,
I always say, like, I wish sometimes I'd had a better childhood, because if I had a better childhood, I just would have a normal job, and I would have been content anywhere along the road before I got to where I am.
Well, right. That's a human. So entrepreneurs are the most damaged people with the best coping skills. That's what they are. So, and then they use those coping skills to create all this stuff. And then many times they torch their family in the process. So that's why I wrote Epic Life, how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. People are like, what? How do you do that? I'm like, well, isn't that what you want to do? So that's why, it's just so again, formula for creating successful global companies. Simple as you see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. So to me, the book is just a successful global company.
Sure, but you know this. So often, guys people who form successful companies, global or not, they throw everything into it. It's
most damage with best coping skills, and that's what they use with the coping.
Right.
skills.
It's like catnip, and they can't let it go, and it all consuming. And the divorce rate is astronomical, and not just one divorce, oftentimes 2 divorces.
Oh, multiple.
Yeah, and then they keep going, which shows that, they haven't learned anything. So you don't want to do that. Who wants to build the world's best company and then get divorced and have your kids not talk to you anymore? So how
illogical.
illogical. Don't do illogical things. So the collaborative approach, how do you inject that into it? Not just build the greatest mousetrap of all time,
Yes.
but build the greatest mousetrap and not have it land on you and cut off your legs while you're trying to use
Okay,
it.
so there's two things. So all joking aside, and I mean this seriously, most of the people that I've talked to that have done it right have married a stabilizing human. That's one. Hey, don't forget to pick your kids up. Here's a calendar item. Do this today. I'm endlessly. The first thing I do every day is a grateful journal to my wife. Without her, very bad situation. Two, and I appreciate the question. The chapter in the book that to me helps answer it, or at least gets the thought process going, is the winning the wrong game chapter. And I was talking to one of my genius friends, Jesse Elder, he was a genius. I mean, he's full genius. And I was asking him, I'm like, why do these entrepreneurs, they care about all the cars and all this, house and all this stuff? He's like, oh, they're just winning the wrong game. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll write a chapter about that. So entrepreneurs, without exception, again, entrepreneur, very smart, like off the charts IQ, EQ, like off the charts. And asking that one question, what game are you actually winning? That's the start of getting the thought process going, because most of the time in those cases where it's damage or disaster, one, they didn't marry a stabilizing human. Two, they're not even asking themselves the question that actually matters. So if they can stop and actually think and ask themselves that question, that's the first step.
Mm-hmm. Okay, keep going. What's the second step? You can't just say one step. Come on, we know this. It has to be an odd number. So what's step 2 through 3?
One is an odd number. Yeah, I mean,
I know, but you can't. You don't just have. You never have a book one rule.
Well, there's
to
30.
Success.
There's 30 of them.
I know. That's
chapter one is the cream. You want me to just list?
No, I don't want you to run through them all. Like, no, come in, because I think this is what's going to be interesting to lead dads and men who are out there. They're trying to think differently. They want to achieve professional success, yes, but they want to be present for their children and ideally be good spouses as well. And they don't want any of those to be mutually exclusive. So how do they figure that out?
So I actually said 2 steps in the first one, but gratitude journal. So the first thing I do every single day, gratitude journal toward for my wife. Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, gratitude journal on LinkedIn. I'll include this in that. What I'm grateful for on LinkedIn. 6 days a week, run outside no matter the weather conditions. We live in Chicago. Horrible weather, as you know, doesn't matter. Done that for 20 years, and then listen to shows like this. So you're feeding brain, lungs, heart with gratitude. And so when you're constantly grateful, it's hard to be ungrateful. I was just on a show this week and very grateful for the host because he really made me think about it. Gratitude to me is the equivalent in a mindset of marrying a stabilizing human. Gratitude is almost a stabilizer. In fact, it is. To me, gratitude is a stabilizer for entrepreneur life, which is anxiety, go, depression, potential bankruptcy, trauma as a child. That gratitude is like it's like marrying a stabilizing human. It's really fascinating to see that. 3, one of the chapters, or 4, I don't even know how many steps I've done. So find your babs or have your babs find you. So I'm in an entrepreneurial group called Strategic Coach, which very confident saying on top, if not top entrepreneur groups in the world. That is co-founded by Dan Sullivan, who's a genius entrepreneur, and co-founder is his wife, business partner, Bab Smith, who's backstage integrator, but a visionary. So for second company, I needed to find my Babs. And my Babs is a man named Mark Fujiwara, who's also a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur, and he's a pure integrator who has a giant vision. So he's the one that's built our high price point invite only connectivity platform. He does all that stuff. And then I just get to stay in my unique ability zone of genius at all times.
Well, that's another thing, you see, staying in your own unique abilities. I'll leave aside the fact that you call your partner Babs, because that's a little weird.
I did. The first time I'm like, oh my God, you're my Babs. I wrote that in the book, and it's really funny. Yeah.
And yet he's still your partner. So that's saying something. But too many people think, I knew from the beginning of this that I needed a partner in the company of dads. who knew all the things I didn't know. And I found this guy, Evan Roosevelt, and it's worked out great because he knows what I don't know. And a lot of
Right.
people don't do that. They try to say, okay, I'm going to figure all of this out
Bad
myself.
idea.
Bad idea. Illogical, as you would say.
Right.
And so how do you keep people from doing it? Because I also think the same way about, therapy. Why not see a therapist if you have a problem? Why do you think you can figure this out, all on your own?
Every human, I hate using the word should. I really hate using that, but every human should see a therapist. Every entrepreneur who doesn't see a therapist, I mean, that is an essential. I mean, that's an essential. Because entrepreneurs most damaged people, the most with the best. The difference between an entrepreneur and a prisoner, an offender, is the higher IQ, EQ. That's really and you've interviewed top wealth, top athletes, top golf. And then I was a journalist for 20 years, at basically every job you can imagine. So interviewed top people. I've only seen only two of the same traits with the top athlete, the top entrepreneur, the top actor, the top musician, whatever the top thing is. Only two commonalities. One, they had the same mindset. No excuses. Do whatever it takes. No excuses. No, none. The second one is that they had at least one person, and you kind of already told me who it was for you if it wasn't your parents, but they had at least one person, whether it was a mentor, a coach, an aunt or uncle, whatever that is, had that genuinely believed or cared about them. I have not met anyone yet at this level that had zero people care about them in that way. That'd be interesting. Maybe you have. I haven't yet. I'd like to meet that person. But I think many of the offenders or prisoners, one, they don't have the IQ, EQ, but two, they didn't have anyone that cared about or believed in them.
I interviewed a guy years ago when I was at the Financial Times. This is 20 years ago. And he had gone to jail for committing the largest fraud in Nevada history. And if you think of the state of Nevada, that's saying something. It's like the largest fraud in like North Dakota history. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of small. I don't know. But like Nevada history, he goes to jail. Of course, he organizes all the different prisoners, starts teaching them things. Super smart guy. Gets out of jail. Gets out of prison. He wasn't jail. Gets out of prison. In a halfway house. Starts working at a sporting goods shop in Lower Manhattan. Highest. Nobody's ever sold more. I think it was Canada Goose. Like whatever.
He's a 10 quick start. He's a 10 quick start.
Selling. Of course, gets out. Don't hear from the guy for years. Check back in with him. A couple years later, back in prison, and he just, but super high IQ guy, PhD in marketing, but he didn't have anybody who cared for him, which is
no family. Did he have a family?
No, well, not
anymore. So his IQ, that's a really good story. Not surprising at all. So, IQ, my wife gets annoyed, but I see the world in numbers. So, IQ 140 and above is genius. That's less than 1% of the population. The lowest IQ of anyone I've talked to in the last 2 years where they knew it was 131. Almost everyone I talked to is over 140. When you get over 160, which that guy has, he's definitely over 160. There's no human understanding. Like those people really struggle. And then I'm 139. So it's a bridge between genius and human. So it can keep up, and then I am barely human, but that person's over 160, maybe over like 180, which I don't say lightly.
But when you talk about this, the power of mentors, the company of dads, we're talking about fathers and how we get fathers more involved, but also really how we allow fathers to work as fathers and not as, we want them to be what we call lead dads, not event dads. An event dad, of course, just ballet recital, you get to go out. Lead dad, you're actually involved. You're that mentor and parent. But how do you, when you're working with these top entrepreneurs, how do you have that conversation with them to say that they don't have a life that's balanced? It's a life of imbalance, and that's leading to their success. How do you get them to sort of realize that there needs to be that connectivity to their family?
Well, that's a good question. So this is how it works in my brain. And again, I think it's the first step, because consciously, unconsciously, they're not even aware of what's going on. So I know when it's someone like that, when they talk about all this stuff, or they're like exit, or they just did a big exit, or and then there's two things that happen. One, I talk about the four things, and then always I'll hear a story like something with the person you just described. Um, I just got off the phone with an 8 quick start who uh, started a massive company to help entrepreneurial families, and then through real estate, and they have hundreds of millions of dollars. But she was her father incarcerated, beat her and her mom up when she was a child, and and uh, then her previous husband, very abusive, and then married her husband now of 13 years, and then he adopted her two young children at the time. Now they're teenagers, and then they hundreds of $1 million company. So, but they started it because of all that trauma. So there's two things when it's someone who hasn't created something like that yet, or they're creating something like your friend and maybe not a friend, but the person you interviewed in Las Vegas. But like, so I'll go, okay, how's your family? How's your family? When they ramble on for all this stuff that they're up to, I go, how's your family? And then many times they're like, oh, I don't see my family, or never had a family. And it gets them to think about that. Because again, if you can get them to even think about it, because again, most of the world doesn't ask them those questions.
Right.
They don't ask that. They talk about, oh, your business is doing so great. Oh, oh, wow, look at all this stuff that you're doing. I don't think like that. And obviously you don't either. And how I think we relate here is because when you're a journalist, you don't, I mean, I don't think you did. I didn't. You don't get into journalism for employee count, revenue, office space, finances. You interview a lot of really wealthy people. That's not why so for me, it's always been about purpose, um, extension of purpose. That's all the companies are. What I have found, though, is the only people that understand what I'm talking about are top entrepreneurs on the planet. So I'm like, well, I mean, it's a pointless conversation if you're talking to someone who doesn't understand you. So I just talk to people who understand what I'm talking about, and they're the only ones I can learn anything from.
Yeah, but how many? Back to the question I asked about, their connection to their children, and their connection to the leading a life of purpose. If that's not part of their hard wiring, how do you work with them so it becomes more important, so that their 2, 3, 4, however many kids, spouse, are not just an adornment, no different than a big yacht or a fourth house.
So that's so fascinating in terms of how I personally work with them. What my firm actually does, and this is why I like doing these, because you get me to think about what it actually means. This is how I learn in real time. So my firm, all it does is simplify a story of the trauma, or whatever that is, what inspires them. It simplifies it, and then they get to talk to other people like us, and they get to talk about it. So I really appreciate you asking that, because I think that's how I actually help them, because they get to discuss it, of what their entrepreneurial journey actually means. And in the case if they've actually torched their family in the process, they get to think about that, and maybe second time around, or hey, now here's a chance to make up for it. Because we just don't partner with people that are strictly business. It would never get through the first meeting process where we'd ever partner with someone like that who doesn't want to put their family first or build something meaningful. It would just never happen. But I think it genuinely helps these folks, because all I hear is we're tired of being best secret. And I think the secrets of the actual trauma is, I think, what they actually want to talk about. And this allows them to do that. So thank you very much for asking that. I really appreciate it.
Let's talk about you a bit. Let's wrap it up. This has been a good chat. 52 dates in 52 weeks. It was a New Year's resolution. Where'd you go on number 37?
Why do you ask 37?
Because you said you like numbers. You think in numbers.
That's not what I think about numbers. Where we went on number 52, we went to Oriole, which is I think it's a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Chicago.
Yeah.
But no, that my numbers, I look at someone's Colby score or their Enneagram or their print, and then keywords like strength finders.
All right. We're not going to go back down that rabbit hole. Back to the dates. This is a romantic idea, and you get your wife to commit to this. You do actually do it. She's a pediatrician. You've got 2 kids. How do you do that? There have to be nights when, one of you are sick. You don't want to go out and do this. How do you pull it off? How'd you do it?
You just didn't. No, they're entrepreneurs. Don't make it. You just.
This is not being an entrepreneur. It's about being a husband. What are you like? Are you? She's sick, and you're like, come on, get in the car. We're going. You can just, sneeze on the foie gras.
I mean, neither of us ever were really sick. The bigger issues were like finding a babysitter and.
Yeah.
But no, I don't.
Was it always the same night of the week? Did you move it around?
No, it was moved around. Yeah.
A lot of them were in Chicagoland. I looked at the map, but you got out.
Yeah.
One down in Florida, one a little bar
Wyoming,
further,
Jackson Hole.
Wyoming, yeah.
I think there might have been one in Wisconsin. I think so. But I live in Chicago, so we weren't flying around the world. We could. That's not a bad idea. Maybe we'll do that next time. But yeah, we were. But it was always a different restaurant. It was never the same restaurant.
So how many of those were in the greater Chicago area?
Most of them.
So you're talking like 45, 48 restaurants in Chicago. Do you ever repeat one, or do you
No, never. Always different.
What'd you learn from doing it?
I mean, that's such a simple question, right? But my wife and I, our first date was the day before she started medical school. So you don't date anyone then, and then we had children, and I was a journalist, and journalist hours are terrible, as you know, many times. So that was the first time we really dated. I mean, I learned so many things. I learned how much I really like my wife, and love her, but really just enjoy talking to her.
Is there going to be a sequel?
Well, I mean, we're doing a lot of cool trips together. Really, I know we're going to Necker Island in a couple months. Got invited to do that. That'll be fun. That's for dadpreneurs. Most of us are bringing our spouses or partners, and I'm just so endlessly grateful for my wife every single day. So that, to me, that's my sequel.
I love it.
Yeah.
Justin Breen, thank you for being my guest today on the Company of Dads podcast.
I really appreciate your questions. You really got me to think a lot, so thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Company of Dads podcast. I also want to thank the people who make this podcast and everything else that we do with the Company of Dads possible. Helder Mira, who is our audio producer. Lindsay Decker, who handles all of our social media. Terry Brennan, who's helping us with the newsletter and audience acquisition. Emily Servin, who is our web maestro. And of course, Evan Roosevelt, who is working side by side with me in many of the things that we do here at the Company of Dads. It's a great team, and we're just trying to bring you the best in fatherhood. Remember, the one-stop shop for everything is our newsletter, The Dad. Sign up at thecompanyofdads.com/thedad. Thank you again for listening.